Tonight on the Henry Rollins Show, we sit down with the man responsible for the Obey Giant phenomenon, legendary street artist Shepard Fairey. And later, an exclusive musical performance from the Duke's Spirit. It's going to be a great show, folks. Don't move. Advertisers and companies who attempt to set the trends for the American consumer are slowly but surely separating good people from their hard-earned money by changing the perception of what getting by looks like. Getting by used to mean that when you didn't have much money, you were careful with it so you could get by. The new version of getting by looks like pretty large living to me and has proven for many to be a costly and potentially dangerous trip into financial instability. I wonder how many people can really afford to run up those cell phone hours, drive a new car, take a vacation when they don't even work full time, and buy a home when they can't even pay their rent. Now, it's this one that the banks really sink their teeth into, offering subprime loans that even the poorest Americans were sure they could afford. Through a nonstop advertising assault by banks and lenders, many Americans got it into their heads that they couldn't get by without a house. The president says there's more people buying houses in America than ever before. He leaves out the part about the rise in foreclosures, though. I've seen so many ad campaigns that promise a life of relative leisure and contentment that can be yours, should be yours, and will be yours by just calling this number. What are you waiting for? If you can just ease a little bit more into credit debt, you can have it for a while. How ironic that many people I know who actually have money live way below their means, and those who have very little money seem to be hell-bent on having even less. My bottom line is this. There are a lot of good people in America who will insist that when they drove that new car down that gentle slope laden with warning signs to the abyss, they were just getting by. My guest tonight is Shepard Fairey, perhaps one of the most important figures in contemporary art. Shepard's Obey Giant campaign transcended traditional media and became what he rightly calls a study in phenomenology. I don't doubt that Shepard is responsible for one of your favorite album covers, movie posters, or pieces of fine art. But it's the phrase, Andre the Giant has a posse, that will always remind us of the movement he pioneered. Shepard, it's great to finally have you on the show.
Thanks a lot.
You who have done set design on this show. Everyone's seen Obey Giant, but they probably don't know the backstory. So how did it come about, and why do you think it became such a phenomenon?
Well, I grew up in South Carolina, a very conservative upbringing. My mom was head cheerleader, and my dad was captain of the football team. Went to private school, but when I was 14 in 1984, I started skateboarding and listening to punk rock. And I had always drawn, but this was the first time I'd ever found an outlet culturally for my art that really resonated as something that you could do that didn't involve, being the most popular kid or the mainstream. And eventually, after accepting that I wouldn't be a pro skateboarder for a living, I went to art school at the Rhode Island School of Design. And while I was living in Providence, I saw a lot of band stickers and just a great creative scene there. And I decided to make a sticker for some friends of mine that I worked at a skate shop with, of Andre the Giant, the wrestler. I was making a lot of my own T-shirts and looked for a picture to teach a friend how to make a stencil in the newspaper, and there was this picture of Andre the Giant, and I said, hey, why don't you cut a stencil of this? It was really just going to be an inside joke. Well, he got frustrated, and I, for some reason, had decided it would be funny to make this thing, and made some stickers and some stencils and put them around town. And next thing you know, the newspaper was running an article, hey, what's this Andre the Giant sticker campaign about? And it opened my eyes to the a power that an image placed in public has, and that usually you only see advertising or store signage, something that's got some sort of commercial motivation, and seeing something that couldn't be interpreted quickly actually was really powerful because people wanted to get to the bottom of it. And so all of the power of an image in public began to fascinate me, and I wanted to take it as far as I could. And I started to read up about things like Heidegger's theory on phenomenology, and the situationists, this idea that people become lazy and sort of begin to just follow the path of least resistance and sleepwalk through life, and that they need things that give them renewed perspective. And something as silly as this Andre the Giant has a posse sticker seemed to achieve that by the feedback I was getting. So just decided to take it as far as I could take it, and that was 18 years ago, 1989.
Do you think there are broader lessons that can be learned from the popularity and the ubiquity of Obey Giant?
Well, I think there's several lessons. Initially, I was definitely trying to call into question all of the imagery that people are assaulted with, advertising, and not to be susceptible to the manipulation by putting something next to it that was more obviously having an agenda. When I created the Obey to go underneath the stylized Big Brother is watching you version, it was this cautionary, hey, what am I supposed to obey? What else is telling me to obey? So this idea that it would be the first domino to fall in getting people to actually question everything. Right. And then also the messages that a lot of people feel powerless to communicate their ideas. They think that, okay, I'm not a corporation. I don't have, I don't own my own magazine or news station. I just don't have any say. And they maybe don't even vote because they feel so powerless. But seeing what I've done, whether it's starting a clothing line or a blog, starting to blog about things they care about, or doing something, I think it's empowered a lot of people to realize that one individual or a collective of a small group of individuals can make an impact. So that's exciting for me. A lot of artists want to be the mysterious, person behind the curtain. I actually want to demystify and say, here are these really simple tools. Go out and rock it. And that comes from, the DIY cultures of punk rock and skateboarding that influenced me so much.
It's fascinating, this position that you're in now. I forget where I was, Wilshire and something, and I saw an Andre sticker, bespattered with LA grime, next to maybe an ad for Walk the Line, massive, on a bus stop kiosk. Right. So I'm seeing two versions of this guy, the sticker kid who, gorilla stamped it on his way down the street on his skateboard, next to this very corporate, very nice thing that's lit at night and everything. Right. So this is these two worlds that you now reside in. How do you deal with being afoot very solidly in both worlds? Well,
my goal was always to do as much as I could on my own terms in just creating my own utopia that I can live as a creative. But the reality is most people who are creative will have to deal with the system at some point. So I decided early on that if those opportunities arose, that I could do commercial work as long as it was something I didn't have an ethical conflict with. I would do it, and I would, like Robin Hood, take that money and fund my own projects that really I felt would influence people to question the commercial side of things. But a project like Walk the Line, for example, is something that I would never apologize for because it's such a beautiful marriage of art and commerce. It's a good movie. It's a poster that I'm incredibly proud of. I'm promoting someone that that I think is a great artist, and I think that a lot of artists have this fear that if they do commercial work, their holier than thou peers will look down on them, call them a sellout, and so they don't do it. But then they're struggling, and they're taking jobs as waiters or whatever. And I think it's something that no other industry really has quite as high, a standard for people's integrity as well, art and to some degree music. And I've heard you talk about songs being licensed, et cetera, and some of the things that you're talking about, where people say, "Oh, the Clash are sellouts because they were in a Jaguar commercial." And I think that creative people have to do what they have to do to survive. And I would never look down on someone for doing a commercial job. I've turned down jobs from Hummer, from Camel cigarettes. They're not sponsors of the show, right? Because I didn't believe in those products, and I actually felt like it would be compromising my ideals to work with them.
Let's talk about the power of advertising in corporate America, because to me it's inescapable, but yet your art is part of it, yet it also calls it into question.
Well, it's something that has been proven to be effective. I mean, these companies, they're more or less, able to understand consumer psychology. They know what people to react to, and against the might of a huge corporation that's done all these focus groups and studies and everything, the average person is they're not powerless, but maybe they just don't realize how effective and insidious it is. And what I'm trying to do is like you said, put something next to the advertising that calls it into question and also makes the individual feel like they have power for this to be a two-way dialogue, that they're not just the victim of having to deal with this stuff. And people have frequently said to me, like, "Oh, I don't want to see your stuff around town. It's such an eyesore." Yet they're not questioning all the advertising that they're confronted with. And I just think that's such a double standard, that if you pay to encroach on people's visual space, which, a billboard on the horizon, a bus bench ad there, this here, that's one thing, and that's fine for that to be an eyesore. But then when it's not paid for, then it's bad. I'd make the argument that my stuff actually does more enhancing than detracting, hopefully. It's always a subjective thing, but what it comes down to with a lot of the city ordinances is that the cities want to benefit the companies, they want to benefit commerce, and so therefore the individual that would like to express themselves is not very important within that dynamic. So, I hope that people see what I do, and even if they're questioning me, just that they're questioning, they go, "Oh, what's that guy up to? Why I don't think maybe his motives aren't really on the up and up." That's okay, as long as that then carries over to them questioning the advertising they're seeing.
Right. I think it's interesting to me that someone would complain that what you're doing is an eyesore, because I go down the street and airbrushed people on billboards is such an eyesore to me.
I think it's an issue of familiarity being comforting, and that just I've joked, and a section of my book is called Repetition Works, and it's just my images over and over and over, and it's both a comment on what I achieved through repetition, but also paralleling what every American deals with day in, day out, and how actually it's totally effective. It's the Bush strategy of keep telling the same lie, and eventually people believe it and it becomes truth. So over time, even something that was perceived as dangerous can become familiar to where it becomes comforting. And, that's a danger with my work, that it actually, becomes so familiar it loses its potency, which is why I'm always trying to evolve what I'm doing, yet keep a visual tie-in, a thread to the previous work, so that people realize that it is something that's building and building and building. But it's a challenge, and people are I think generally a little bit lazy and tend to embrace the familiar.
What do you say to people who just look at what you do and the act of affixing a sticker or something as nothing but defacing and vandalization?
Well, one of my arguments is I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer. I own a little chunk of the public space that maybe is being used for an ad that I didn't say I wanted it to be used for. Just like I might say, I'd prefer that my money was going to education instead of funding the war in Iraq. But do I have a choice? Unfortunately, I don't. But this is something that I can do where I can put my work in public and I can express myself. And I feel that really everyone should have the ability to express themselves as long as what they're doing isn't hurting someone else. And I have been arrested 13 times, and it's just part of it. I've been beaten up by the cops in New York City and had to pay big fines. And, I go, but is what I'm doing, where I'm coming from, I feel really strongly about it. I feel strongly enough to deal with that, to deal with being arrested. And, part of the reason I'm making the art that I'm making is to react to elements of oppression that if I were to cave in to having been arrested would be somewhat just giving in to the very things that I have a problem with.
Right. Do you think that we are unknowingly faced with government propaganda images, every day, like unbeknownst to us?
Well, I think that just seeing the American flag as a backdrop for the news is saying, to a degree, will we endorse what the government has to say? We're somewhat complicit because there's the iconography right there. Every day we're confronted with that, and I've gotten to the point where I actually am creeped out seeing American flags, and that's terrible because I love this country. But the type of person that waves the flag vigorously, and it's disturbs me because I think there are a lot of problems with what's going on right now, and a mindless endorsement of it all is not healthy.
In my opinion, the American flag, the symbol that you see on all the lapels of Fox News pundits and the president alike, they've hijacked that image. It's their own little symbol for going into countries and beating everyone up. And I love my country and I love the flag. And I want that back. I want my country back from these people, and I want that logo. I want that corporate image back from these people. Do you think art and artists can do anything to wrest that away from these people?
That's a tough one because I think that as an artist, if you integrate the American flag into your work, there's going to be this perception that you are coming from the perspective of Fox News and George Bush. There's a book, Swastika, Symbol Beyond Redemption. It's basically saying that once it's been used in the way it's been used, it's very difficult for it to recover because prior to that it was an American Indian motif, etc. I've been using the American flag in my art actually more as a symbol of what our country is doing negatively, and I hate to have to use it that way, but I think that's the more accurate use at this point is our cultural imperialism and our economic domination. There's pretty much no better symbol for that than our flag. But the hippies reclaimed the flag to a degree, the peace sign with the American flag in it, and I think that should be a good example of how it could be done.
Well, yeah, I agree, and I hope you're part of that. In closing, let me say this to you, man. I've always admired your artwork, even before I really knew it was you. And having known you for as long as I have now and talked to you before, I was very happy to have you on the show because I think your message behind the art is as interesting and as amazing as the art itself. And for that, I thank you. And thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you, Henry.
Still to come on the show, an exclusive musical performance from the Duke's Spirit. But first, My Life Animated in Drawing Conclusions. So unfortunately, in my opinion anyway, young American kids get contact with hard alcohol way too easily in this country. It sucks, but it's very easy to get to. The kid goes to the schoolyard, raises his hand. I want to be on Team Alcoholic. 80 kids go, oh, hey, I can hook you up. Come to my clandestine location after school. And you follow your friend home to his parents' basement, and your friend has liberated a bottle of alcohol from his parents' stash that the parents don't even know of its absence to this day. Adults give each other really crazy shit, and your parents were given a bottle of this blue liqueur, cough syrup consistency stuff that will peel the paint off a car. It'll strip rust off a U-joint, and it's in a donkey-shaped bottle with a worm and worm excrement floating at the bottom of the belly, and the cap is a sombrero on the donkey's head, and he uncaps the sombrero and pours half a donkey's worth of this blue vanilla blueberry death into a large plastic bongo-sized glass and goes, here. You go, well, what do? You drink it. Like the whole thing. I just drink it, you just drink it. Oh, okay. And you take your first mouthful of hard alcohol and you go, and your body feels it come down your body, goes, whoa, 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 you little dumb motherfucker, listen to me. This is the factory installed software. You are now about to have a ground floor opportunity to never do anything this stupid again. Do you feel how your entire body is rebelling against this mouthful of toxic shit that you've just put into your body? This will make you mediocre of aspiration. This will make you put your prom date through the windshield of your car into a fucking light pole. This will make you arrestable. This will make you like your dad, hard-arteried, ignorant, and dead at 52. Do you want to go down that route? Do you feel what your body's saying to you? Are you ever going to do this again? Do you hear me talking to you, son? Yes. Then what are you going to do? And you start staggering in a backward circle because your world is going at this increasing incline. And am I falling? I think I'm falling. No, you're not. No, I'm falling. I'm definitely falling. And every time you come around to see your friend, you have to show out for him. I am so fucked up. I'm fucking wasted. You do this for 5 to 7 minutes. And this is the time your body needs to fully assess what you are trying to do to it. They're working overtime in the lab down there. They've stuck a dipstick into your gut. It's come back 6. How many inches will kill him? 2. Oh my God, he's 4 over the limit. They're giving this stuff to lab rats. They're dying. They're like, oh my God, this dumb little motherfucker's trying to kill himself. The factory installed software says we have to live. And so this toxic swill has to leave the body cavity, and it's going to leave right now. And that's when you have your first wide awake, mid-sentence, on your feet, fully conscious projectile vomiting experience. I am so... You cover your friend, your leg, the dashboard, the arresting officer, everyone gets bucketed. And you learn a lesson or two. With a raw, emotional sound and soulful songwriting, this UK outfit's debut album, Cuts Across the Land, earned overwhelming critical praise. And tonight, they are kind enough to give us a sneak peek at new material from their upcoming, still untitled sophomore release. Performing Lasso, this is The Duke Spirit, live and uncut.
I talk to no one, you're invisible. And with this venomous tongue, yeah, none of it's true. Well, I can taste it, you see it's in the heather. A message from forever, and now I understand. Could I make me there with you? And you get over me, and I'll make me get over you, and you get over me. I just see you. I'm more and more. I just see you. happy pictures too. Tender trouble is almost lovable. I feel the weight of the tree beat on my chest. It'll make me get over you, and you get over me. I didn't make me get over you, and you get over me. I just see you. Oh, more anymore. Oh, I just see you. Feel bad, say so. Feel good, let it go. Feel bad, say so. Feel good, let it go.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you again to my guests, the Duke Spirit and Shepard Fairey. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.